that she brought up a lot of emotion, but then it wasn't really answering the questions. So I think that between the two of them, I really couldn't decide personally who won, because I didn't think either of them were good candidates.
I'm going to get a couple more of you. Kurt from Florida, who won?
A lot of
We're
emotion,
going to repeat
but
this.
then it wasn't really answering the questions. So I think that between the two of them, I really couldn't decide personally.
Okay, someone's got their phone on. Someone's got to shut that off.
Good candidates.
Whoever's okay, someone's gonna have to mute.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Whoever's got that phone has got to mute themselves, please, or get off, because you're gonna wreck this. Okay, we're live now. So you literally have America watching, and just as we start this, John gets up and walks away. So John, you just missed your great opportunity, but this is live. So at least you know that it's live. Like, he waited to the moment when we went live to disappear. Okay, I'm going to ask the question that everybody wants to know the answer from. Who won this debate tonight? And you have to choose. Did Kamala Harris win tonight, or did Mike Pence win tonight? Raise your hands if you thought that Kamala Harris won. One hand up. Raise your hand if you think Mike Pence won. It's overwhelmingly Mike Pence. So let's find out why. Kimberly, you were the star of our focus group last week, so I'm going to give you the first comment. Briefly now, in a sentence, why do you think Mike Pence won?
Mike Pence was more factual, and he was able to answer most questions with the ability to know exactly what he was talking about. And
Laura,
he did.
Laura, in one sentence, I'm going to go just one sentence for you guys. Laura, one sentence. Why do you think Pence won?
I felt that he was a lot more composed, and I don't know, I just wasn't a fan of her continual facial expressions. I don't know, I just felt like he was also more composed.
Kurt, one sentence. Why did Pence win?
I thought he had command of the issues.
Tom, in a sentence, why did Pence win?
I thought he had command of the issues, and Harris didn't look presidential to me.
Tom from Florida, why Pence?
I think Harris struggled to put together really coherent reasons for different questions.
Minnie, I know you disagree with us. Why do you think Kamala won?
Well, I felt that Harris cared about the people, and I did feel that she looked presidential in the debate.
Harry, I know you're on the fence. You've been all over the place in the 5 minutes before we came on the air. Do you still think that Kamala won the debate?
Yeah, I don't think that this debate is going to change the trajectory of the race at all.
That's not my question. Harry, that's not my question. Who won the debate?
That's why I think Harris won.
And by the way, I'm being corrected by Katie Couric that I'm not pronouncing her name right. I've actually corrected myself twice tonight already to get it correct. These media people are just hard as hell on you. James, who won the debate?
Overall, I give it to Mike Pence. I believe it was due to his demeanor. He's more calm, cool, collected, and composed throughout the debate.
Nick.
Straightforward answers, even if I don't agree with him on policies.
And let's do one more. So John from North Carolina.
I just think his calm, easy, even-tempered answers gave him the edge.
Actually, let me do one more beyond that. Debbie from Florida.
He didn't let her get him flustered. He kept his cool. He answered with facts.
Who here walked in leaning towards Joe Biden? If you had to pick, who's leaning towards? So Tony, why do you think Harris did not do as well?
I think that she was a less fluid communicator in her responses. I think that Pence was just, he was able to state his positions in a way that was more easily understood to, I think, the viewers or listeners. Whereas I feel like Harris kind of was jumping back and forth a little bit.
And Nick, let me ask you, do you lean towards, when you walked in here, did you lean towards Joe Biden?
Just ever so slightly and reluctantly.
And why did you feel that Pence did better?
It was just straightforward and command of issues. But again, I don't necessarily agree with him on them, but I liked how he answered the questions at least.
Okay, what I'd like to do now is I want to ask you a very simple question. And then we're going to go and I'm going to give some special guests the chance to ask questions of you as well. Give me one word or phrase to describe Mike Pence based on what you saw this evening. Just one word or phrase. And I'm going to go in order. And so Tom from Nevada, I'm going to start with you.
He could be president.
Tom from Florida.
Bit of a robot.
Kurt from Florida.
Presidential.
Laura from Florida.
Even keeled.
John from Ohio.
Presidential.
Tony from New Hampshire.
Bland.
Harry from Pennsylvania.
Regressive.
Debbie from Florida.
Professional.
Minnie from Nevada.
Unsympathetic.
James from Nevada.
Calm, cool, and collected.
Nick from Arizona.
Typical politician.
Kimberly from Ohio.
Comfortable,
Say it again.
comfortable.
And John from North Carolina.
Low emotion.
Okay, now I'm going to flip it. And John, I'm going to start with you and go backwards. Give me a word or phrase from tonight to describe Kamala Harris.
John from Ohio. Evasive.
Energized.
I just realized we got two Johns, but I wanted to start with John from North Carolina. Word or phrase to describe Kamala Harris tonight.
Evasive.
Kimberly from Ohio.
Nervous,
Nick from Arizona.
Focused on the past.
James from Nevada.
Shifting blame.
Minnie from Nevada.
Caring.
Debbie from Florida.
Snarky and sarcastic.
Harry from Pennsylvania.
Too rehearsed.
Tony from New Hampshire.
Nervous.
John from Ohio.
Evasive.
Laura from Florida.
Abrasive.
Kurt from Florida.
Unsteady.
Tom from Florida.
Rigid.
And Tom from Nevada.
Unpresidential.
Okay, what I'd like to do now, and this is a surprise for you all, if Danny, you can bring her in. I try to bring interesting people to join these focus groups so they can ask questions of you all. I don't know if you can see her name, but I've always wanted to do a session with Katie Couric. She's one of my favorite people, and I can see the smiles from your faces, so you know who she is. So Katie, if you can unmute yourself and we can actually see you, I'm going to give you the floor to ask any question you want to from our focus group participants. They've already been warmed up for you. So Katie, please go ahead. And this is what happens when you're on live streaming. Is Katie still there? Okay, while she hopefully unmutes herself. Let me ask you a question, because I'm curious. Mike Pence went over his time, virtually every response he went over, virtually every opportunity that Kamala had, she made a face or she had this reaction. Please tell me, because you were telling me that this is bothering you. Which bothered you more and why? And as you answer it, I'm going to give Katie Couric another opportunity. Unmute yourself. Let us see you, because I do want to get you to ask a question of these people. Go ahead. Anybody here? Just raise your hands who wants to go.
Well,
What bothered you more? And Tom from Nevada, and then Kurt from Florida.
I found the facial expressions from Kamala very distracting. I didn't like when either person didn't answer the question more than I was bothered by them going over time.
And who was more likely to duck the question in your mind?
You know, I guess Kamala, because it sticks in my mind. I wanted them to answer the packing the court question.
Okay, just
She
unmuted.
didn't. So that bothered me. So it sticks in my mind that neither one of them answered the questions
I
very
did
well.
it.
Kamala a little worse than Pence.
Okay, then you're doing it right. So here,
Okay. Katie, we hear you. We don't see you, but we hear you.
hi everyone. I'm so sorry. I'm technically challenged. So
You're not
hi
alone.
everyone. It's great to see you. I'm trying to figure out how to show my screen. I have a new iPad and I just unmuted myself, but I'm sorry you can't see me, but actually sorry, not sorry. Okay,
You're not-
wait a second.
You're
Oh,
not
I-
alone, Katie. Oh,
Hey, by the way,
There you are.
Oh,
hi.
good to see you, Katie.
By the way, Frank, it was the host's fault because they wouldn't let me in.
Awesome.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Just
First
cause.
of all, can I just tell Frank, you guys, it's Kamala. That's how you pronounce Senator Harris's name.
Yes, I acknowledged that after you told me. I even acknowledged it.
But you kept saying Kamala. It's Kamala.
Katie-
Just
Katie
think
is
about a
not
punctuation mark.
She has not changed one bit when she was on TV. She was forceful. She was kick-ass. Every time I came on the Today Show, she had a problem with something I wore, with something I said.
That's not
So I'm
true.
sorry, but
That's
I'm
not
not good enough for you.
Should we tell everyone what you said in 2016 around 7:30 at night, Frank?
Yeah, but the problem was you and I were drunk. So
That's not true.
Oh.
That's not true. Anyway, I just
Is
want
that
to
a
say hi
requirement
to
to be in
everyone.
this group?
I've been listening to everyone and it's really interesting. And I just want to say we really appreciate you all watching and expressing your point of view, your points of view. And it's really interesting to me, you know, as a woman who had to break barriers in my own career, I found it interesting when one of the gentlemen, I can't remember who, said that Kamala Harris didn't look presidential. And I'm curious, as I'm familiar with a lot of sort of gender stereotypes that exist and, you know, unconscious bias, if it's because we haven't seen somebody like that, a person of color, participate on the national stage to this degree. And if you had to really look at yourself, do you think that that influenced how you saw these candidates tonight?
Okay, Kurt, Florida, I'm going to start with you, and then I'm going to go to James from Nevada. Kurt from Florida.
I don't think it influenced me because what bothered me more was Mike Pence talking over. You know, everybody's appearances in a debate, you know, has their little idiosyncrasies, maybe with their hands, maybe with their face, maybe the inflection in their voice. So I wasn't influenced by that at all. In fact, as you guys are talking about her facial expressions, a lot of them I didn't even notice because it didn't make a difference to me. But with Mike Pence speaking over and over and on and on and on, that really got to me because I thought that was disrespectful and rude.
James from Nevada.
In terms of her being a female running for vice presidential, that wasn't a concern. It was more of like her facial expressions and the ways that she presented herself. It wasn't very presidential to me. Not that gender had anything to do with that.
Tom, I'm going to go to you next. I need you guys to mute yourself, and then I'm going to ask Debbie and Kimberly to respond to Katie's question. Tom from Florida, and then the rest of you can mute yourself because we're picking up the feedback. Tom, go ahead.
I thought she was strong. I thought she looked presidential, but I thought she was also nervous and at times maybe rigid, a little hung up on trying to get a talking point out. But I thought she looked strong out there.
Kimberly from Ohio.
I think that, you know, we have to understand the difference of how we equate male and females. Last week, we saw Mr. Biden and President Trump make all type of facial expressions And that was never an issue on last week's call. Now, because we have a woman, I believe that people are inadvertently, looking at her a certain way. Did she do a good job tonight? She didn't do as well as I expected her to do, but she got it done. I believe she was extremely nervous on a national stage. And we know that Pence has had major practice, so he did well. He was more calm, he was more reserved. But as far as presidential, it all depends on who you're asking and why you're asking, especially when you're asking males.
Okay, so let's go to the three other women who are on this panel. Debbie, what's your reaction to Katie's question?
I think color had nothing to do with it. Absolutely nothing. She was just snarky. She frowned, she smiled, she laughed. Every time he would start to say something, she rolled her eyes. I just did not. That was a major turn off for me, regardless of her color or gender.
Debbie, can I interrupt, Frank? I'm just curious because from my point of view, I saw Mike Pence making expressions of impatience, interrupting her, looking exasperated and frustrated. And I'm curious if he bothered you when he was doing that kind of body language and those kinds of expressions were coming from him.
His expressions were not as, I guess, as vivid in my mind as hers. Hers were way more expressive and way more what I would call passive aggressive, which is a word that's used for me a lot. I just think I'm aggressive, but she just came across as again, just a sarcastic look or like, oh, I can't believe he's saying that. And Pence's were more of, I think, frustration, and they did not bother me as much. I can't say exactly why, but it has nothing to do with his gender. Nothing.
Frank?
Kathy, hold on. I want to go to Kathy and Minnie, because I want to get their responses too. But before I do, I want a show of hands. Who do you think showed their emotions more tonight? Kamala or
Kamala.
Or, well, this is not on television. Kamala or Mike Pence. Who would say Kamala Harris showed her emotions more? Raise your hands. Okay. Katie, are you surprised at that? That virtually everyone here said that she was more expressive?
No, and I think what's really interesting, I think what some people may see as emotional, other people may view as passionate. So I think it really depends on the lens from which you're watching this debate. I think we all come with our preconceived notions. And, I was following on Twitter, and it was so interesting because everyone seems to have a different point of view depending on, the lens from which they're watching these debates. So, I think it could be either a positive thing or a negative thing, depending on how you're receiving, that particular point of view. Hey, Frank, can I ask one question? Because then I have to go to bed. I'm just curious because I know a lot of you all are from states. Debbie, I know you're from Florida. And I think Kimberly's from Ohio. And many of these states are seeing a spike in COVID cases. And I think one of the things that I thought Senator Harris did a good job of was talking about the fact that we have such a high rate of COVID infection in this state, in the United States. We have 4% of the world's population and 20% of COVID deaths. And I'm curious if any of you all felt, sorry, Frank, I don't mean to steal your thunder, but any of you all felt that Mike Pence's defense of the Trump administration's response to the pandemic was satisfying or unsatisfying? And if you feel if you feel comfortable with the response the administration has done since the coronavirus pandemic started.
Frank, I'm working with COVID in Florida with the health department. I'm totally taken back by Katie's comments on this. I think she came in with predetermined notions, obviously, but Kamala is not, she did not come across, you're talking about emotional. No, I didn't think she was emotional. I thought she was very snarky and like a schoolgirl. I was not impressed with her. I thought she would be better.
What about the COVID answer, since I know that you work with
I
COVID
do.
in Florida? So
Well, I
how do
think
you
they've
feel
done an
about it?
amazing, I think they've done an amazing job with it. I am very impressed. And I'll tell you what, I'll be in line, whether Kamala is or not, I'll be first in line to take that vaccination when they bring it out, because I know they know what they're doing. And just to say they don't want to do it because it's Trump, okay, that's fine. Don't, please, more for the rest of us.
I think I have to correct you though, because it's really the FDA protocol to make sure that a vaccine is safe and effective.
Oh, I
And if
agree
that's-
with you.
But that's something the Trump administration has tried to circumvent. So I just want to correct you on those facts. It's not that people are saying they don't want to take the vaccine. I think they want it to go through the scientific protocols that all vaccinations need to go through before they decide that they feel comfortable taking it. And they don't want it to be fast tracked to the point that it hasn't been adequately tested. So
It
think
will
I just
be
have to
adequately.
correct that.
Hold on.
I'm
Guys,
sorry, it
this
will
is
be
not-
adequately tested.
Hold on.
Sorry?
This is not what a focus group is about. A focus group is to ask
Sorry.
American people their point of view, not to give a lecture about some sort of COVID vaccine. So
But
Katie,
that's,
I'm going to
but Frank, don't you think people need to know accurate information?
I think they're getting
I
it.
have a point.
What we need to know here is what these people think. Katie, you and I have, we've got platforms that we can communicate to people. I want to know what they think. And believe me, I don't, you're going to kill me tomorrow. So everyone here, I want you to take a look at me, because you're going to see a knife in my back and it's going to have Katie's name on it.
That's not true. That's not true.
I'm dead.
I'll stop talking.
Okay. My guys, I've got someone very special for you. And Minnie, I'm going to call on you now, but I want to tell my guys, I believe that General Wes Clark is on this call. Presidential candidate, incredible hero leader. So while we bring him in and he unmutes and shows himself, Minnie, please go ahead. Your comment.
Okay, so I just wanted to address America's reaction to COVID. I personally think America has given up on COVID. And when it first began, I think the whole country should have been shut down for a month, and that would have been more effective versus the way it was actually handled. So I think the situation we're in today with the high rate of COVID deaths is because of the way it was handled initially.
General Clark, you now have the American people sitting in front of you. You've got the most important voters on the face of the earth. These are the people who are going to determine who the next president of the United States is. What question would you like to ask them?
Well, Frank, first of all, thanks a lot for giving me the chance to meet these wonderful people and to ask the question. And because I think it's really, really significant to know how you feel about the issues. But before I ask that question, I want to ask this question. Okay, we've already been asked by Frank who won the debate. And what I want to know is, does it make any difference? Because this is part of an election campaign. You're undecided. That's why you're here. And people are trying to get your vote. So what you heard tonight, you heard from one person who's been 4 years as the vice president. He's been on most of the administration policies and so forth. Heard another person who's a senator from California. And you're comparing the two. You've picked the winner, or the majority of you picked one person as a winner. What I want to know is, did it make any difference? Did it help you decide to vote for Joe Biden and his pick for VP Kamala Harris? Or did it make you feel like, I need to vote for Donald Trump and Vice President Mike Pence? Did it make any difference, this debate?
Raise your hand if it did. John from Ohio, and then Tom from Nevada. And
It's
actually, so John, you're first.
Okay, it certainly did, because I'm trying to find out some of the viewpoints and what they're going to do, and I didn't really get answers. You know what's going on in the Trump administration and Pence? It's Harris. About the vaccine, they asked her about that. What she would have done different? She just gave a history on it. packing the Supreme Court. These are all issues you want to know what they're going to do. So yes, it is very important to me.
And Tom from Nevada.
This is the first time I've really paid attention to a vice presidential debate. The reason I did that is I know Trump. I don't like Trump as a person. I cannot disagree with a lot of his policies, though. If he had a better personality, I would like his policies. I know Pence. I know Biden. I like Biden. But I want to see what his vice presidential pick was like. She was unimpressive as thinking about her becoming president. The facial expressions and stuff were annoying, but that's not what I base it on. I base it on evasive answers, non-answers, this fear of taking a position on packing the court. I don't understand it. So I was sort of leaning toward Trump, but I really had my mind open. And now I think I'm going to vote for Trump because of Harris's non-performance.
Debbie, your reaction to that?
I agree. And she answered things like, she would say, I can guarantee you Biden is not going to stop fracking. She didn't say what she was going to do, because a lot of us are concerned, is Biden even going to be around in a year? Or if he is around, is he going to still be president? Or is he going to be in some retirement home because he's not capable? And so I think we're all looking at her and saying, is she going to be the next president? And she didn't say what she was going to do. She said what Biden was going to do. And that scares the crap out of me.
I'm going to ask one more response. Tom from Florida. Did this have any impact on your vote?
Yes, to the extent there was no failure, right? I mean, it was close. I thought Pence won, but it was close. So, the fact that neither of them failed out there means it made a difference having this debate tonight.
So I got to ask you a question. General, hold on for 1 second, because CNN just put out, so I get tweets and headlines of stories. And they said that Kamala Harris put Mike Pence on the defense from the very opening, and that she set the tone for the debate. Do you guys agree with that? Is that a correct assessment? John from North Carolina, you're nodding your head no. In fact, everyone's nodding their head no. John from North Carolina, and then James from Nevada.
I didn't really see it that way. Maybe if you compared the two on emotion alone, she probably took control from her emotions. But if you set that part aside and you look at the substance of what was talked about, I didn't really see that she ran the table on him.
James from Nevada?
Yeah, I disagree. I believe that she was actually she was more defensive in her answers, where she had to go out of her way to basically explain her, merits of, her prosecution and so on and so forth in some of her answers. So I felt she was more defensive overall.
Okay, General, you're going to get a second question. And
second question. So a lot of people are saying that America is more divided right now. The passions are running higher. Americans are so divided that there are people in their families they won't talk to. They lose their best friends. They can't talk at work. Or anything. Sports used to be bad if you were a Red Sox fan versus a Yankees fan, but it's far worse today. Now, who do you think, if they became president, let's say, because that's the way some of you are looking at this, who do you think is would be best able to help bring America back together again?
okay, Harry, you're the youngest one here. You're the one, we're all going to be dead. And you're the one, and by the way, when I said that, if you looked at his face went, oh my God, as he looked at everybody. We're going to be dead. The country's going to be yours. Who is most likely to bring us together? And then Kimberly, I'm going to you next, because I know you feel strongly about this. But Harry, you kick us off.
Well, I think this is certainly going to be longer than a 4-year project. This is going to be probably the project of the 2020s into the 2030s. But I think for right now, in this moment in 2000, the person who wants to run the country is Joe Biden. I think Donald Trump is running a campaign right now. I think the person who wants to attempt to try to bring the country together is Joe Biden.
Okay, Kimberly, we're giving you the floor.
Well, you know what, Frank? I am so perplexed right about now because, Mr. Pence has this spiritual well-being within himself. And, God sort of shows up, and we have to look at, Kamala Harris in a sense that, are you going to attack every single subject matter and make people uncomfortable? Because here's the thing, let me clear this up real quick. I don't think that people are really looking at Trump and Biden because they're both old and I don't think they're going to be here. And I'm not wishing ills. I'm not. I think people right now are looking at either Harris or Pence because that's going to make the difference. Those are the real presidential candidates right now. So we have to decide whether or not we want a world of confusion and chaos and attack, or whether or not we want some calm and some control. So for me, I'm like really now on the fence because honestly, I was hoping tonight that Kamala would come out as a star, and I didn't see that. I saw the opposite. So that's a little bit more confusing for me right now because I have to understand whether or not we still want to go through the fire or whether or not we want a fireman to put the fire out. I don't even know if I'm answering your question, but this is how I'm feeling. So I'm perplexed. I know, laugh, right? Because I'm giggling too.
I think you're being evasive, Kimberly.
Where can I find a fireman is what I'm looking for right now. General Clark, that's got to be the best answer that I've had. And Kimberly's given some great answers in the 2 sessions that she's done. And I'll be curious to find out where she ends up. But Jen, I want to thank you for doing this. You can stick around.
Can I just say one thing to your look? I was in the United States Army. I fought in Vietnam, stayed in the Army after Vietnam. I came home on a stretcher. I love this country. This is a really important election. We're at a really critical time, and people really are divided. And Abraham Lincoln said it. Well, actually, it was in the Bible. A house divided against itself cannot stand. So I hope when you do go to the polling place or send in your mail-in ballot, think about what's really right for the country. I remember the 2004 or 2000 election when I had just gotten out of the Army. I remember one of the big issues was, who would you rather have a beer with, Al Gore or George W. Bush? And everybody said, well, George, he's a fraternity boy and he'd be a lot more fun to have a beer with. And Gore, he's kind of an egghead, he's always talking about things like climate change and everything. I'll vote for George W. Okay, maybe some people did vote that way, I don't know. But this is an entirely different kind of an election. So the weight of the world is on your shoulders. People all over the world are waiting for you to make the right decision. My friends in NATO, people in South America, I'm getting texts tonight from people all over the world saying, what's going to happen? What about this debate? And the truth is America is so important that who the president is probably matters as much to people in Africa or Europe or Asia or Latin America as it does to Americans. They don't have a vote. So they're counting on the common sense of the American people. And you all are the last of the holdouts. You're the thin, fragile bridge between two poles. Just please give it your best, okay? Thank you, Frank.
Thank
General,
you for your
thank you very
service.
much.
For your service.
Thank you.
Okay, and we've got another gentleman who I hope is still there. Danny, if you can find our baseball friend from New York and Los Angeles and St. Louis, because he had an amazing question for you all. I don't know how many of you guys recognize him.
Joe Torre? Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, can we see you? Can you take yourself off so we can actually see you?
Finally, an expert in some field.
That's right.
Hey.
Here I am.
Put on me here.
And you.
Joe, you and I were going back and forth on some commentary over the last couple of hours, and I thought you had a brilliant question. So I turn the floor over to you.
Well, Frank, the big picture, and I'm naive, I guess, because I want to be, but I'm listening to people speak, and I know there are two different parties that we're dealing with, and maybe one listens to one or watches one channel, and somebody else watches another channel. And can that influence them? I'm guessing yes. The only question I have, and because this is important to me, how important is truth, integrity, and honesty to your panel? That's really important to me to find that out.
Okay, Laura, I'm going to start with you. Truth, integrity, honesty. When you compare that to where you stand on the issues and the policies, which is more important to you?
Well, I mean, definitely truth. All of those things. I'm a mother raising my kids. That's something that I try to drive home to them all the time. So yeah, I mean, I like to think of myself as somebody that votes on principle and not always, the politics of it, but the principle. And it's right now with all the divisiveness and what he was saying about the, what channel or what, media outlet you listen to. I mean, it's just so divisive. It's very difficult to weed through to find that truth sometimes.
And it's an interesting approach. Kathy, Florida.
Yes.
Tell
Yeah.
me, policy or truth?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Integrity and truth are important to me. And I saw more of that tonight, I felt, coming out of Pence. The way that Kamala Harris was sidestepping and not answering bothers me. That's a lack of truth. And that bothered me a lot. And I've seen that over and over, unfortunately.
Nick from Arizona, and then Tony from New Hampshire. I'm going to you next. Nick from Arizona.
Yeah, I have a little more cynical view on this. Like, I don't really trust any of them from tonight, or definitely not the two from, that are running for president, which is unfortunate, but that's why I'm stuck here in the middle. And yeah, it's not happy, but it's just a reality.
Tony, are you stuck in the middle also?
I mean, I think as far as debate performance goes, I think that
we're doing truth. What's more important to you? I want to stay with Joe's question. It's a great one. Truth, integrity, honesty, or where they stand on taxes, budgets, COVID, the policies. Which matters more to you?
That's a tough one. At this moment in time, I would say it would probably be in truth and honesty.
Tell me why.
I feel that there's a lot of chaos and just deception, and I am more than willing to put up with a few years of policy that I might not agree with for honesty and commitment to principles of truth.
Okay, two more of you. Tom from Nevada.
I find the question interesting because when you ask to compare truth and integrity to the policies and the positions, I cannot find truth much of the time in what any of the politicians say in order to evaluate the truth of their policies and positions and the claims they make. So to me, they're inseparable almost. I have to believe in what the politicians are telling me. And when I don't, all I can do is kind of dig around. And even when I go to supposedly authoritative sources and get different answers, it's very frustrating. I don't make a living out of studying politics, so I can't sort out all the noise. I would like it to be based on truth and integrity, but boy, it's hard to find. I can give you examples of every national politician and tell me what they've said that's true, and it just disappears.
Tom,
does that bother you?
Yes.
Wait one second. We're focusing on this debate. Who is more honest and truthful in tonight's debate, Harris or Pence?
I think Pence. He just did a better job of answering the questions straightforward. It's as I said before, there were a couple of big questions that Harris just refused to answer.
And I
And
gotta,
you
I gotta
know
follow
there's
up.
an answer there. You know there's a truth there.
Tom, I got to follow up. I got to follow up here. Who is more honest in the first debate, Donald Trump or Joe Biden? And Minnie, will go to you next. But Tom, the first debate, Donald Trump or Joe Biden, who was more honest and truthful?
I felt that
couldn't
Biden
tell.
was
Minnie,
honest.
hold on. Tom, go ahead. Finish the question.
In the first debate, I thought they both lied to me. You know, neither one were very truthful in my opinion. You know, I found lies on both sides.
Okay, Minnie, go ahead.
So I think that politicians do spin the truth. That's what politicians do. I mean, that's their business. Like, you know, they'll take the truth and they will, you know, present it in a way that's different from, you know, what the actual truth might be, but that's their business. And so between Trump and Biden, I felt that Biden was more honest. I feel that, you know, Trump, I think that he sees the truth through his eyes, which may not necessarily be the way that everyone else sees it.
And I'm going to ask one more of you, which is Debbie from Florida. Which is more important to you, honesty and the truth, or COVID and healthcare and taxes and inequality? Is it the policies or the persona that matters more to you?
Okay, I'm going to throw out a little curve because I think just like half of the rest of you, they all lie. But the only thing I can go on, I'm a business owner. The only thing I go on is what makes my life better. And taxes and healthcare and all those things make my life better or worse. So I go on the policies, and you know, who has done more with what they said they were going to do is Trump. But that's surprising to me because I really hate his personality. But he's done more of what he said he was going to do. So I have to just close my eyes and push the button because, you know, the man, you know, he rubs you the wrong way, just like Kamala does. But he's done what he said he was going to do in many cases. And so that I equate with truth and honesty.
Joe, you asked a great question, and that's why I wanted you to do this, because this is a dividing line, and these are the people who have to make the decision right now.
Yeah, and I'm just saying, if you have a friend and you tell them and you're talking to them and you're finding out later that they're not telling you the truth, how do you feel about that friend?
Exactly.
Yes.
Not a good friend.
Oh, sorry. No, but
Can't trust that person, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's the way I feel. I was just curious because, you know, sometimes when you know how you feel, and I had to do this during my managing career because, you know, you're getting older and the players are getting younger, and you know, you try to be aware of the way they're thinking, and so I never tried to shove my feelings down their throat if it was something, because everybody's entitled to how they feel. And I just was curious that, you know, because I always, well, I was raised this way, and you know, I have friends like this, that truth and integrity and honesty is important, because I want to trust people.
Yeah.
I'd rather be proven that I was wrong than never give them a chance to be trusted. And when I can't trust them, then, you know, I just cross them off. And when I find that out, and so I was just curious. I'm giving you the way I feel, and I was just curious how you guys felt.
Okay, guys. Joe, thank you very much for doing this. I'm
Sure.
going to bring. It was good seeing you.
You kept me up past my bedtime, but that's okay.
I apologize to you and your bride.
I'll get even with you. Don't worry about it.
I know you will. By the way, just before you go, I'm going to Game 6 of the World Series. Come with me.
All right. You get me a free pass, I'll go.
Okay.
No, I'll even pay for a pass. I'll pay for dinner too, Frank.
Okay, you got a deal. Joe,
All right.
thank you very much.
Guys,
Now,
enjoy. I just follow your conscience. That's all I can tell you.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, take care.
Danny, the next person one should bring on is the mayor of Columbia, South Carolina. If you can find Steve Benjamin. I don't know how many of you know him. He was the head of the U.S. Conference of Mayors. He was one of the most significant leaders in South Carolina to truly seek to bridge and work across the aisle. And it's a pleasure to see Steve again. I haven't seen you in a while. It's good to see you through Zoom. Steve is a consummate statesman and I don't call him a politician. And if you've been listening to what they've had to say for this entire program, they don't like politics. In fact, I want to do something with you. I want you to give me a word or phrase to describe the 2020 election. I'm going to each one of you. I'll say your name and where you're from. And I want you to give me a word or phrase to describe the 2020 election. Kathy, I'm going to start with you. Kathy from Florida. Kathy from Florida, give me a word or phrase to describe the 2020 election.
Sorry, I had muted it, so I didn't make any noise on you. One word to describe it, huh? To me, hopeful.
John, describe the 2020 election in one word from North Carolina.
Chaos.
Chaos. Kimberly from Ohio.
Puzzling.
Nick from Arizona.
Total chaos.
James from Nevada.
A joke.
Laura from Florida.
Chaos.
John from Ohio.
Could be life-changing.
Tony from New Hampshire.
Surreal.
Harry from Pennsylvania.
Tipping point.
Debbie from Florida.
I don't know if I can say it. It's
Say
shit
it.
show. It's a shit show.
I can't hear you.
It's a shit show.
Debbie, I can't hear you. Can you say it again? I love this. This is like so cool for me.
Just one more time.
Minnie. Yes, one more time, just for the hell of it. Minnie, word or phrase to describe the 2020 election.
It is depressing.
That I heard. Tom from Nevada.
Consequential.
Tom from Florida.
Dumpster fire.
And Kurt from Florida.
Extremes.
Okay. Steve Benjamin, Mayor of Columbia, South Carolina. What can this group tell you? What do you want to know?
It's I've enjoyed listening. And Frank, thank you for pulling me in. And I do agree. A focus group is about listening and hearing and seeing what each and every one of you see from your seat in the room. I remain convinced, and Frank gave me a much kinder introduction than I deserved. I'm not Joe Torre, Wes Clark, or Katie Kirk. You guys don't know who the heck I am. I'm a New Yorker who came to South Carolina 30 plus years ago to attend the University of South Carolina and never left. So I'm not a Yankee. I'm a damn Yankee, the one who never leaves. But I'm still a Gamecock. I've been blessed for the last 10 years to serve as mayor of Columbia, South Carolina, leading our city ups and downs. What's that, brother?
And your question, sir.
No, I want to know. Let me just say what I observed just watching everyone tonight. It's amazing how we all. I come from the school of thought that two people equally yoked, good people, kind people, can look at the very same thing and see something very different. That we all suffer from where we are the product of our experiences, and as a result, it forms our worldview. I'm not sure if I have a question. I would say this, Frank. I would encourage each and every one of you, not only to vote, but to go out and get every single person you know who may share your worldview or may not, and get them to go out and vote too. We live in the greatest democratic nation in the history of the world. I dare say the greatest nation in the history of the world. And that will only be preserved by men and women like you who are engaged, who are involved, who will vote, who will make sure others come out and vote. That's the only way we'll do this. So, so it's not my job to try and shape your ideas. I've heard some very strong opinions. Some of you I'm not convinced are uncommitted voters yet. So that's a whole other story. But I respect your opinion to hold the place where you are. I just think it's so important that one, you vote, and that secondly, that everything you do and say protects the right of every other voter, be they D, R, or independent, to make sure that their vote is counted, whether it's on election day, the day after, or the day after. And that's it. Now, I've just enjoyed listening. Right? Sometimes my grandma would say, God gave you 2 ears and one mouth for a reason. He wants you to listen twice as much as you talk. So I've enjoyed listening.
Your grandmother should have come to this focus group. She would have started slapping you in the head, saying, be quiet.
You know I don't listen to you, Frank. Come on, man. You let me in the room, and I'll tell you what I'm thinking, and I will say, brother, it's good to see you. You're looking good. You're feeling good. You look about 40 pounds lighter or so. And you just keep doing what you're doing.
Okay, and let's go on. Thank you very much. By the way, I've lost 60 pounds, so I'm pissed at you for that.
I love it. I love it. God bless y'all. Y'all take care.
Okay, guys, I want to ask you another question, then we're going to bring someone in. And Danny, the actor, please bring the actor in. I think everybody here, most people here will recognize him. I want to know from you all whether you think our democracy is healthy, or the electoral process is working, what you expect from, and Richard, you need to unmute yourself and you need to show yourself so we can actually hear you and see you. But I want you to comment on the election right now and whether you think our democracy is working or not. So once again, I'm going to pick out 6 of you. And Kimberly, I'm going to start with you. Is the American democracy working in 2020?
Well, I really can't say, because with COVID-19 and the issue with the absentee ballots and the concept that a lot of ballots will not be counted, they'll be thrown away. I really can't say, because at the end of the day, Frank, really, whoever wins, the losing party is going to have an issue. There's going to be a ruckus about someone stealing the election.
James from Nevada, is our democracy healthy or is it sick in 2020?
I don't think that it's very healthy. It just seems like, there's always problems with the elections, voting, counting, and also the losing president might not accepting of it. And I'm just disappointed in the democratic process.
John from Ohio, what's your reaction?
I don't think it's very healthy right now. The thing that worries me when I say that is all the mail-in ballots, and you just don't know what's going to happen with them. I don't have any problem with absentee and stuff, but all these mail-ins and the different states have these rules and stuff. It's changed. I'm 60-some years old, and when I was younger, we used to have to go vote on election day. Now you can start voting a month ahead of time and stuff, and all the mail-ins. So I don't think it's very healthy right now. I'm just not sure. I think, as Kimberly said, you don't know where it's going to go.
Kurt from Florida, how do you react to this?
I don't think it's healthy right now, because a healthy democracy talks about we. Right now, everybody's talking about, if you're not with me, you're against me. And that's just not healthy. There's no respect in that. And to have a healthy democracy, you got to have respect.
Tom from Nevada, how healthy is our democracy right now?
I don't think it's very healthy, and I agree with most of the other comments, although I would add one more, and that is, I felt like last time when 4 years ago, when I didn't vote for president, I felt we had 2 terrible candidates put up by 2 parties. This time, I again don't think we're getting a very good choice. I think our democracy is partly in jeopardy because we keep getting very weak candidates, in my opinion. I mean, Trump was weak last time. I didn't vote for him. I didn't like Hillary for a number of reasons. I didn't trust her. Joe now is old and he waffles on the issues, and we've got the same Trump to choose from. I would love to see an election where we have really good candidates. We haven't had that for like 2 elections now.
Debbie, how when you look at the democracy, when you look at the electoral process, does it give you hope or does it give you despair?
Major despair.
Because?
I feel like half of our country doesn't even love our country. Half of our country wants to see it fail. And it's, they don't like our military, they don't like our law and order, they don't like the police, they don't like the firefighters, everybody's against everybody, and nobody seems to be patriotic anymore and love this country. And I think we have to love this country or it is going to fail.
I'm going to do two more. John from North Carolina, is our electoral process in trouble?
Debbie brings up a good point that people seem to want to see it fail. And I believe in that sense, they want to prove and say, we told you so, we were right. They would be more willing to see something not work to say, I was right, I tried to tell you. And you're seeing that a lot on both sides, really. It's pretty frustrating.
So Kimberly, you're actually nodding your head. I know I'm supposed to go to Tom, but Kimberly, you're nodding your head yes. I'm surprised. Tell me why.
Well, I would have to agree with him because we saw it even in this debate. It's pretty much like, this is what we said would happen and look what happened, rather than people going to Congress working together. When you have people who cannot work across the party lines in the benefit for the collective whole, then we will continue to have failure. And no one right now, not the presidential candidates, not the VP candidates, they can't see it. And at the end of the day, Frank, it should be about the American people, and it is not. And I will go back to COVID-19, like I said last week. Everybody wants to talk about issues, but here again, you have Americans out here who are still struggling financially, and nobody's talking about that. What's going to happen come December 31st? What's going to happen? People are going to lose their homes. They're not going to have a place to stay. They're not getting their jobs back. And this disease, this virus is here at no fault of our own, but yet and still who's suffering? Because not one person, not Trump, not Biden, not Kamala Harris, not Mr. Pence, they have not lost a paycheck. You see, their families are not disrupted. Ours are. So I wish somebody understand that we come first. You see, because they're not the employer. And I wish people understood the power of government. The American people, we are the employer, they are the employees. And when we understand that, we can get our country back together. But unfortunately, we don't understand it. So that's why we're in a disarray that we're in.
Amen.
I second that. Yes.
Well said.
Yes.
Well, that's the first time we've had unanimity in this group ever. Tom, I'm going to go to you, and then Richard, I'm going to give you a shot to ask your question. Tom from Florida, your reaction.
I think it's unhealthy. And like Kimberly was saying, it's either side is pitted to hate each other by either side. And then how do you work together at all? Nobody comes together to do anything anymore. It's right. Opposition. It's change or this, it's not a sustainable path.
I brought on Richard Dreyfuss. You know him as a highly respected, highly revered actor, Academy Award winner. I know him as an advocate for teaching civics. And Richard, I asked that question as much to inform you, but what would you like to know from these people that would help you in what you do?
Well, I must say, I feel so sad tonight. I didn't expect to feel that, and I do. I think that people have forgotten that things like America don't happen by themselves. And it takes work. And that means it takes brains, and it takes concentration. And when we stop, we don't teach one another, and we don't teach our kids how we came together as a country and how we created a miracle that the world admired. We don't know anything about our own miracle anymore. We don't know why we are to be respected, and we should, because we are the greatest country that has ever been on this planet. And I hear people who are who are giving opinions without saying to themselves, let me at least get informed. Let me be informed. We have no free press. We have just people parroting, all the cable news stations, left or right, are just parroting partisan nonsense. I think that the idea that we could elect someone to the presidency or run someone who lacks common decency and makes fun of people, and I think that's more than dangerous. And I'm so sorry that that's been neglected. And I think that it's a good a reason to vote for someone who has a sense of integrity and decency and is not a liar. The problem, I think, for us here right now is that we don't know how to talk to one another because we know that the people that are speaking for us in politics are liars, all of them, and that we have been betrayed by our parties, both of them, and we don't know how to get back to some good, normal, decent behavior.
Okay,
And we
Richard,
have to get there.
what's your question? Would you
Frank,
like to ask the people a question?
would you? I don't. I can't do it. I don't have a question. I
Then
just
what I'm
hope.
going to do, what I'm going to do here is I saw everybody nodding. And Harry, I'm going to go with you first because again, you're the youngest person here. This is your future. And Tony from New Hampshire, you were upside down. You're going to go next. You heard what Richard said about our society and about our lack of knowledge and what's happening in this country. This is your country. This is your future. What do you say back to Richard? We can't hear you.
I graduated college as a government major, so I certainly understand that the lack of civics education across the country is a really it's a detrimental aspect to the coming generation, especially in the age that we're in right now with the rise of Twitter and Facebook as sources of information for people, in addition to the cable news channels and print outlets that are traditional print outlets. I think it's a difficult time to discern the truth, and a lot of people struggle with that.
Tony, you live in the state that has every presidential candidate every 4 years. Everyone's met a presidential candidate. Most people have met a president in New Hampshire. Do you feel it as bad, as scary as Richard describes it?
I think we're at a point where I think emotions are high and people can easily be swayed in directions that that could lead down dark paths. So I think that that yes, we could be, faced with some less than cheery outcomes. And I teach middle school social studies, so civic education is it's what I try to get across every day, and hope that everybody understands the principles of the country that we live in and the Constitution. And I think that they're only as strong as the people who participate are, and as well informed as we are. So, I mean, I guess I have a somewhat pessimistic view at times, but I don't know if I can. I don't know if I could say for certain that there's this inevitable doom that we're facing. That we're faced
I don't
with.
think it's inevitable doom. I think it's a big, big, big problem, and it's one that we have to really we have to prevail. I am not a doomsayer. I'm saying we can't not look at this problem in the face. We can't act as cowardly as we have. We don't want to spend money on schools. We don't want our children to be smart, and that's absurd. But I'm not a doomsayer. I'm saying, as the lady said, let's get our shit together here and remember that we have something to truly be proud of, more than anyone else in history. So I'm not being a doomsayer.
I'll open it up to 2 more comments on Richard. Then we're going to have our final guest, and then we're going to call it a night. Is there anyone else who wants to comment on what he said?
Yeah, I would, Kathy. Well, first of all, I would like to say that I'm very appreciative to hear an actor finally compliment America, because we don't hear that often. So I'm grateful that you would do that. But I do think this country is amazing. My husband's a 31-year Marine, and we've served. We all serve. And we actually live in a community, Indian River Colony Club in Melbourne, Florida, that is 80% military here. And we've all fought for this country. We fought for it because we love it. And I do think that some politicians do, but I think many of them just want the power that goes with it. And we have the greatest country in the world. So I do thank you for saying that, Mr. Dreyfuss.
Kathy, I need to challenge you for 1 second.
Sure.
I don't think you're an undecided voter.
I was, but I'm really strongly leaning.
I don't hear anything that says that you are truly undecided.
Well, probably not much anymore. Certainly, Kamala Harris did not do anything for me tonight. I was really borderline, just like, I can't stand her. And everything I had been listening to Joe Biden say, some of it's good. And I've met him along the way, but I just hear too many lies, especially tonight, and no answers. That was the biggest thing for me. I just really need more answers if I were to ever go for Joe Biden and her, because they're not answering questions.
So I want
And
people,
need that.
I want people to know this, that we go through a process and we ask them a number of different questions. We all did the same thing with you.
Mhm.
And that screener process is supposed to screen out somebody like you, because I don't believe that it's possible that you could vote for Joe Biden, even though that's what you said in your screener. And it really
Well, anything's possible, absolutely.
No, come on, Kathy, let's be honest here. And there are a lot of people watching, and there are journalists going to watch, because I'm going to challenge you right now that I don't think you were honest in your application to come into this focus group.
Well, I would not say I could never vote for him. I'm sorry.
You wrote that you were possibly voting for Joe Biden and possibly voting for Donald Trump. And let me ask
That's
all of you,
true.
because maybe it's too hard on her. Does Kathy sound like an undecided voter to you?
No.
No.
How many of you would say that she does not sound like an undecided voter? Raise your hands. There you go, Kathy. We don't
Oh,
buy
sorry.
it. So when they talk about integrity, and I would assume that you've got kids and maybe you got grandkids because of where you live, that you got to be honest, because it makes people like me look bad, and it makes the polling profession look bad when people make this claim. And I see that Katie Kirk agrees with me, by the way. So,
Oh, I'm not surprised.
Richard, thank you very much for doing this. We heard you, and you had a very powerful impact. And the last person I want to bring in is a genuine journalist, if he's still here, Tim Alberta from Politico, who is one of the rising stars of his profession. And he's always got good questions. And I don't know if he's still on. He may have jumped off, but I see him right there. So he's going to ask you the final question. I'm going to get one more question after him, and then we're going to be done. So Tim, are you there? Tim, are you there? Tim, I just gave you the scoop of a lifetime. I just called out a panelist for not being an undecided voter, not knowing what was going to happen, and you're not there. So, okay, you missed it. So
Here he is. He just popped up.
No,
on.
he's- oh, well, I didn't.
Unmute.
Tim? Okay, it's too late. Everyone here, I'm going to ask you, give me a word or phrase to describe this debate tonight. We're not asking about the election. We're not asking about Trump. We're not asking about Biden. I want you just to give me a word or phrase. In fact, you can give me a whole sentence, but nothing more than a sentence. In one sentence, tell me about tonight's debate. And Laura, I'm going to start with you.
Well, I didn't really learn anything new. we already knew about Pence sort of coming in, and I didn't learn a whole lot about Kamala Harris tonight. A couple little questions that I would have liked to have heard answers to, namely the court was a big one for me.
John, can you give me a sentence to describe this evening?
Disappointed I still couldn't get some of the questions I've been looking for answered.
Nick, tell me about this evening in a sentence.
Felt like I was in a older election, like politics of yesteryear.
Kimberly, one sentence to describe tonight.
Concerned. I am concerned about what I'm going to do for the collective whole. I'm concerned.
Harry.
I think there were a lot of evasive answers, but overall, I think it's going to be pretty forgettable, except for the fly.
Except for the fly. Yeah, the fly is going to be the star of tonight's debate. I actually thought the fly should have gotten a 2-minute rebuttal to what they all were saying.
Yes.
From Florida.
Fly.
Not tonight. Kurt from Florida.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm disappointed because I didn't get the clarity that I was hoping for.
Debbie from Florida.
I was just bored. It was just boring. It was sounding like their speeches. It wasn't really setting anything divisive. It just was boring.
John, describe tonight for me in a sentence.
I felt like it was a bust. The stuff that I wanted answers to, the questions were asked, but there were no answers, like the Supreme Court.
I have a feeling that that's our consensus, that you really wanted an answer from the California senator about that, but you didn't get it. Tony, give me a sentence to describe tonight.
I don't think either candidate had any really outstanding moments, but I don't think that either made any horrible mistakes either.
Minnie?
I thought it was a depressing debate, and I thought the moderator was biased.
Biased in which direction?
Towards Pence, because she always let him go on and on and on. But when his opponent was talking, she would, be more effective at stopping her.
Tom from Florida.
I think they avoided the most pressing issue we faced possibly in a generation or more, about to go off a fiscal cliff economically with so many people out of work and so many problems, and they hardly touched on it, if at all.
100%.
Tom from Nevada.
Unhelpful debate. I wanted to learn more about Harris. I didn't learn anything really. The evasive answers were a problem. Pence, it could have been a debate from 4 years ago, same Pence. So not very.
Kathy from Florida. Wow, she's mute now. James from Nevada.
Tonight's debate was a huge disappointment for me. There was a lot of blame shifting. There were no real solutions to real problems. Americans are like trying to figure out how to pay rent. Jobs are being lost, more important issues at hand. And it was just very, very disappointing for me to sit there and have to listen to that.
Frank, I'm sorry, I had it muted so you wouldn't hear noise here. I said I was very disappointed with no answers.
And what answer did you want more than any other?
More than any other? Probably the Supreme Court.
Then the way that I'm going to bring this to a close, because we've gone to our hour, is what advice do you have to Joe Biden and Donald Trump for the 2 debates that are remaining? I'll take 6 of you. Raise your hands if you want to give them advice. Tom from Florida, and then Tom from Nevada, and then Tony from New Hampshire. Tom from Florida, you'll start.
I want to know what they're going to do to help lift people up, for the working class, the people that are struggling right now. They've got to tell us what they're going to do. It's the most important issue that we're facing.
Tom from Nevada.
I would tell Trump to tone down his obnoxious personality and explain what promises he's going to make. He's got a record of keeping promises. What is he going to do? And for Joe, I would tell him to forget about the past and prosecuting the Trump administration. Talk about what specifically you're going to do going forward to accomplish what you say you want to do, which is bring the country back together. I would like to hear that, and I would like to hear how you're going to do it and answer the damn questions that the voters need to know.
Tony from New Hampshire. By the way, you're being criticized by Mike Polis, that he's criticizing a bunch of you for lying to me, for claiming that you're undecided. I don't mean to jump away from this question, away from my question, but I'm an open book here. Are you guys lying to me? Every time I do this, by the way, Tony from New Hampshire disappears. Are you guys lying to me?
No, no.
So what do you say to Mike?
Well, what I would say to Mike is, we're all coming at this from a different angle. We all have different information. We all have different experiences, and it changes sometimes every day. You weigh this, and then you weigh that, and then you weigh this again. And we're probably undecided because this is more serious than it's ever been. I mean, this is really critical.
I didn't vote for anybody last time. I guess I wasn't undecided last time either. I don't know what to say.
Nick, go ahead.
Yeah, I struggle with this even with friends and family, and it's like I'm undecided. I mean, I happen to be leaning towards Biden now, but just because I'm exhausted. But like, I don't agree with either of the political parties fully in any way. I think it's, if you're someone that fully agrees with either of these political parties, I'm kind of looking at you like you're strange, but everyone's looking at us like we're the weird ones because we happen to maybe have some views on both sides, right? Like, I don't know. That's the part that I struggle with.
Okay, just for the record, that's the best response I've ever heard an undecided voter ever say. I love that. In fact, that's where I'm going to close it because I thought that was so good. Guys, I want to thank you very much. A few of you will be invited on when we do this again next week. I appreciate it. I do mean to give you a hard time because my job is to challenge you. My job is to ask why and to push and push as you give information. I agree with what has been said, that this is a very important election and that you have a tremendous responsibility. And the fact is that Joe Biden, in most polls, is just at 50%, which means the election is still open, that it has not been determined yet, and you all are going to determine it. So I hope that you do come to a decision. I hope it's the right decision for you. I hope it's based on information and not on things that don't matter. And Tony, I hope that you can teach your students that America will come back again, that the anger and the frustration and the divisions that we have, that they're not permanent. Because I would hate to see a teacher of social studies walking into a classroom and feeling that those kids are they're just not going to have a good future. I know how demoralizing.
Oh, I don't think that at all.
So, and do you feel, I'm just curious, and we'll stop it here. I'll actually, when we put this online, we won't include this part. But Tony, you listen to this whole conversation. Do you feel good about democracy right now? Are you going to say to your kids, watch this conversation because these Americans will make you feel good about your country?
I think I encourage my students to be participants. I don't. It's because it is so divisive. I'm not the teacher who will, necessarily, go into these deep debates because they can get very heated. But I do encourage them to pay attention. I encourage them to learn about whatever issues and to follow whatever they think is, their what's right to them.
Will you tell them to watch this video? Will you tell them to watch this video?
Sure.
Why?
Because I think it's important for them to know how people all across the country can speak their mind and be respectful and watch a vice presidential debate and analyze it. I mean, that's what I want them to be able to do, as human beings. I want them to be able to soak in, the current events around them and analyze it and make a decision that's, informed and best for them and what they believe is best for their future and the future of their fellow citizens.
And that's a pretty good answer. Harry, good luck. We're going to be gone. You're going to end up inheriting the mantle. Have a great life. Have a great future. You can have all my stuff when I'm out of here. Everybody, thank you very much. And we are done.
Thank you, Frank. Bye-bye.
Hey, congratulations on the weight loss.
Thank you. I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
That's a real accomplishment.
Thank you. I hated every minute of it. Bye, guys.
See you guys.
Thank you. Bye-bye.